day of their lives, even when they finish with their studies. The topics would include the self-regulating, or of its definition, the process or the steps in self-regulated learning, learning responsibility, organizing. We have here its definition, the indicators, as well as the importance. So first of all, as we speak of self-regulated learning, we could be thinking about the main subject of the title, which is all about the self, which is related to an individual's own self. As you could see here, the main role is basically put on a certain individual for him or her to be able to acquire knowledge or learning, and how he or she will be controlling this kind of learnings he has acquired from the environment. As we define the regulated learning, it refers to one's ability to understand and control one's learning environment. At the same time, this process is such assisting students manage their thoughts as well as their behaviors and emotions in order to successfully navigate their learning experiences. As teachers or as educators, it is our vital role to set ourselves as an example for the learning growth of our students. It's not enough that we are able to finish our syllabus, the things that are expected of us from what we have listed, or the outcomes that we need to give them with the grades. But the most important thing is that, are we able to inculcate with our students the importance of learning by themselves? We do not just spoon feed our students. We have to teach themselves that they should be acquiring knowledge even their teachers is not in front of them. Because aside from what they are learning with the lectures that we are providing, when they are alone at home doing their assignments, or when they are complying with the requirements, what kind of behavior do they manifest? Are they just doing things because they need to comply with the deadlines that we are setting? Or is it innate within them that they have to study and they have to prepare such kind of activities because they really value the importance of education? So that's one thing that we have to challenge ourselves and challenge our students as well, because the learning process does not only involve memorization of the terms that we are imparting with our students. So as you could see here, this would include a broad umbrella of considerations. The variables that are included here are the following: the cognitive, metacognition, behavioral, motivational, and emotional or affective aspects of learning. As you could see, there are a lot of factors which are included here. Cognitive, the process of the brain pertaining to higher mental processes, decision-making, thinking, as well as judgment. But it doesn't revolve only there. Metacognition, a higher process of learning. Behavioral, how would their body respond to the thoughts that they have in their brains? How would they be moving along whenever they are faced with stressful conditions, whenever they are overwhelmed with a lot of tasks that they have to carry out in school, not just in school, but other aspects that would be evolving around their life? The motivational, what keeps them continuing on with their life, as well as what pushes them to be inspired in doing a certain task assigned to them in school. Like, for example, there could be students whose motivation is eating some delicious dishes, or others would like to treat themselves with sweets, or others would be enjoying watching K-drama or listening to songs that they really love. It keeps them motivated. And at the same time, the emotional or affective aspects. Emotional could also include how we feel along with the things that we are doing. Is everyday life a burden to you? Is every day like you are just being forced to carry out the things that you like? We also consider here the people around us or the situations that are happening around us. How do you feel when you go inside the classroom, when you see your students? And for the case of the students, how do they feel whenever they see their classmates, whenever they see their teachers? Do they feel overwhelmed or sad? Or do they feel happy upon having encounters with these individuals again? And the self-regulated learning is an extraordinary umbrella under a considerable amount or number of variables which influence learning. As you could see, it includes here self-efficacy and then volition, as well as the coping strategies. And these things are being studied within a comprehensive approach. The self-efficacy, or what could be the initiative of the students, and then are they being compelled to do certain things, as well as what approaches you do in their learning process or in their learning strategies. So in the social cognitive perspective, according to Zimmerman, here is a triadic model of self-regulated learning, and it is comprised by three of the different factors which interplay the roles with one another. As you could see, there are three variables that are included here. The first one is the person or the self. The next one is behavior. And the last one is the environment. As you could see, the social cognitive perspective of the self-regulated learning looks at the triadic interaction between the person, as well as their behavior and the environment. For this, the person would include an individual's belief about success. That's why you could see here a covert self-regulation. This is coming from the inside. This is coming internally from the person. What's your belief? What's your perspectives? How do you see things? And that will be connected with the next one, which is about behavior. How do you keep yourself engaged in a certain task? How long could you focus on certain things? Is your attention span very quick that with certain number of triggers or environmental factors, you tend to be disoriented, you tend to be distracted, you could not focus on one thing whenever there are a lot of distractions around you, as well as after you do a certain task, the environment will also include here a feedback coming from a teacher. Okay? When you do certain task, when the student submits the task, it will be checked or evaluated by the teacher. Then afterwards, the feedback is very important here. Why? Because the feedback would be also having an effect to the person, right? For kindergarten students, take a look up. Have you noticed kids whenever they are being stamped with a lot of stars because they are very good or they have performed very well in their classes or they have behaved very well? You could notice that these kids, whenever they go home, they are very excited. They would be bragging about the stars being stamped on the back of their hands, and they will be showing it to their parents. Oh, Mama, Papa, take a look, I have a lot of stars. And the child is very much inspired the next day to be behaving well and expecting that kind of recognition in the form of the stars. On the other hand, in the case that when a child misbehaves or a child did not perform very well, for some of the teachers, they stamp a sad face. So what I have noticed is that a certain kid, after getting a bad face, the child went straight home, going directly into the bathroom and washed her hand so that it would not be seen by her parent. So take a look at the behavior. A while ago, when there were stars on the hand, which signify good behavior, the child was rushing to brag about the achievement. And the other instance is that the child goes straight to the bathroom to wash the hand and remove such kind of bad remark. So take a look. Our feedback means a lot. And that feedback could also be affecting the behavior of the individual, whether it is said, whether it is being given, or in whatever form it could actually affect the person. So, after the social cognitive perspective, you have here three interactions which are included in the approach. The self-observation, which pertains to the monitoring of your behavior, monitoring of your performance, taking a look if your activities were carried out, and it will be followed by self-judgment, which is the evaluation of the task you have carried out based on the self-observation, and finally, the self-reaction. So, after which, we also have the three phases pertaining to Zimmerman's cyclical phases model. As you could see here, the first one would be referring to the forethought, wherein the students analyze the task, set goals, plan how to reach them, and number of motivational beliefs or energies that process, that influence the activation of the learning strategies. You tend to think which strategies would be best as you go along in achieving the goals that you have set. And later on, as we discuss the different processes in the self-regulated learning, we will be taking a look at the steps or the individual things that are included with it. After the forethought process, we have the performance phase, wherein the students execute the task while monitoring their progress and use a number of self-control strategies to keep themselves cognitively engaged and motivated to finish the task. The next one is a self-reflection phase, wherein the students assess how they have performed the task and making attributions about their success or their failure. When a student is developing the self-regulated learning strategies to himself or herself, taking a look at the performance would mean so much to that particular individual. If it's a success, then the child continues to work well so that the next time he or she conducts an activity or carry out a task, it will end up being successful or even better than the last performance that was taken. Or if it's a failure, then it would mean that there must be more effort on the part of the student and a realization, where have I gone wrong? What ways could I do to improve the kind of outcome that I have encountered this time? And comparing what is the best thing for a certain kind of task to be carried out. So here, as we could see in Zimmerman's cyclical phases model, forethought, performance or volitional control, and the self-reflection, which are divided into the sub-phases. You could see the sub-processes of the self-regulation. Task analysis would include the goal setting and strategic planning, the self-motivation beliefs, which would include the self-efficacy, outcome expectations, intrinsic interest or value, as well as the goal orientation. And in the performance or volitional control, we have your self-control, self-instruction, imagery, attention focusing, task strategies, and self-observation through self-recording and self-experimentation. And here in the self-reflection, we have a self-judgment, self-evaluation, as well as causal attribution and self-reaction. So here we have Bokert's different goal techniques or goal roadmap techniques, the top-down or bottom-up, and the emotions. Her work is basically focused in explaining the goals So how students activate different types of goals in relation to SRL. So even if we're not talking about SRL, we all know how important goals are. The goals will set the direction or will give the direction to whatever you want to achieve. Bakit mo ginagawa yan? What's the purpose why you're doing that? Of course, when you do something, there must be a reason behind it. There is a reason why do you want to achieve it or what do you want to achieve. That's why you are setting the goals. For example, I want to be familiar with the different terms related to a particular subject. For example, to psychology. So that's your goal. Making it more specific, you said you want to know about 20 terms related to psychology, right? Now, how are you going to do that? You can't just simply begin with what are you going to do without the goals that you have in mind, because you always set the target that will give you the roadmap of the things that you want to achieve and what are the things that you have to carry out in order to achieve the things that you are setting. And the first to use situation-specific measures to evaluate motivation of self-regulated learning. So always remember, why do we always include here motivation? Lagi po nating tandaan, it's not all the time that we are at our optimum state. We are not always at our best. We are just trying to cope up with the things most of the times or sometimes, especially when you are faced with different challenging situations in life and they are all piling up and you are getting overwhelmed. Of course, you need to find something or someone that could motivate you. In case you won't be able to, that motivation should come within yourself. Okay, never lose that motivation because it will keep you on pushing through with the things that you would like to carry out. Okay, ano po bang mga motivation ninyo? Others could be motivated whenever you get a raise in your work. Syempre, everybody will feel motivated on that. But whether we admit it or not, it's not all the time that we achieve that easily. It could take some time to have that. So what could be other simple motivations? Others are motivated whenever every day in the morning they have a good sleep. Early in the morning, they are able to get up early, have some exercises, physical exercises, so that they could be starting the rest of the day more refreshed, right? And more energetic. So that could be one motivation. Another motivation, if a person is looking forward for some pleasant things, yung iba, they would be happy whenever they're expecting for a package or a delivery that will be coming. Even it's just a simple thing or a small thing, when that is someone's motivation and it could change a very bad day. Di po ba? So never lose that motivation because that's one of the most important thing for us to be very eager for self-regulation. Okay? So next, the process or the steps in self-regulated learning, we have mentioned about planning and setting goals. This is one of the most essential things that we have to carry out before we progress with the next process. Okay, like what I have said, the goals set your directions. The goals give a roadmap to the things that you are carrying out. And at the same time, it will allow you to develop better strategies that you have to carry out. Followed by exercising control, monitor progress towards goal, and reflect, as well as respond. So what are the things included in this part? In plan and set goals, this would pertain to activating prior knowledge about the difficulty of the task and about one's own ability in the content of the area. Take a look at this. Whenever you are learning something, you compare if you have encountered that before, right? Why? Because you will assess, would it be difficult? How difficult would it be once you have identified, I have encountered this before and it took me 5 days to finish it. So if you have a prior knowledge about that particular task, then you could gauge yourself how long would you be able to finish doing it? Or you are able to identify easily what kind of strategies do I have to include in the plan goals that I have set here. Or when you say, I tried doing this kind of technique before, but it didn't work. So this time, it's up to you if you still want to make use of such particular thing, or if you want to do something different so that you will be able to carry out the task in a better way this time. Or you identified, I do not have a prior knowledge about this. So 0, I'm clueless about it. Now, that would be a good starting point for setting of your goal. The first one is for you to have a background about the task that you have to carry out. Then make a research, try to read, and try to ask some of your colleagues who have a prior knowledge about that. Maybe you could get some ideas or some strategies or some techniques. Do not hesitate to ask questions. Do not hesitate to collaborate with people. It's one of a good way of learning, because you will be hearing different perspectives, and the focus will not only be on how you see things. You might be missing other important details when you just focus on what is in your mind. You could also involve other people to help you develop better strategies on achieving things. The next is exercise control. After you have set your goals and planned the strategies that you have to carry out, then here we exercise control. And this involves implementing any of the learning strategies like rehearsal, elaboration, summarizing, asking questions, right? So this one good thing of exercising control. You plan to learn how to dance. For example, you are a PE teacher and you have to teach your children, this is the dance called salsa. This is the dance called reggae, right? And whatever kind of dance is that. Of course, you do not just show them a video and tell your students to imitate it. The best learning for the students is they have a model. They see their teachers as a model. And what do you do with that? Of course, you do rehearsals, you do and try that for yourselves, and you show them later on to your students. But prior to having class with your students, what you do is you rehearse. In case you're not a PE teacher, you are a math teacher, then solve the problems, you try to rehearse solving the problems, and how are you going to deliver the lesson to your students? That's part of the rehearsal process. Then elaboration. How could you expand more? Cite more examples. And tell your students, for instance, this is the case. Expose your students to different situations so that they will have a broader perspective about what's going on with things. They do not just simply stick with one situation or one scenario, because whether we admit it or not, one theory could have different experiences or could be experienced differently by different people. And of course, summarizing, stating the highlights or the important points of the things that you are narrating. Same thing with the students. Whenever they carry out tasks, after they present, after they do activities, they have to summarize it. Step 1, this is what I've done. Step 2, this is what I've done. And if you know the basic or the important details, then it will be easy to carry out that again. And you develop mastery through exercising control, or rehearsing, elaborating, summarizing, and then asking questions. Why do you ask questions? To further improve things, to further widen your knowledge, and to further elaborate other details that you have set. And then here we monitor progress. We keep track of one's own understandings, feelings, or behavior towards a certain goal. Okay? So the fourth one is reflect and respond. As you could see here, we use the information gathered through the previous self-evaluation cognitively. Now, once you have carried out all of this, you take time. Am I doing it right? In this strategy one, in this plan, am I directed towards the goal which I have set? How was my performance? Of course, you keep track of that. And do you feel comfortable in doing it at the same time? So here, these things or these steps will really allow you to develop yourselves with regards to self-regulated learning. Because from the prior knowledge that you have to the existing things that you have carried out, the learnings that you have gathered through the strategies you have conducted, you tend to make a reflection if you are gearing towards success or you are gearing towards something which you have to improve more. Okay, so take a look at this video to show about responsibility, because self-regulated learning would include a high responsibility towards ourselves.
Imagine if you threw an empty plastic bottle on your bedroom floor. Imagine if you threw an empty plastic bottle on your bedroom floor. Now, what if it's a bunch of bottles and they spill into the street and eventually end up in the ocean? Your action would have a ripple effect. It would affect you, your community, and even the world. And just like what we do in person, what we do online has a huge impact. What we say online, what we share online, and what we create online doesn't just affect our lives, but the lives of our families, friends, community, and people all around the world. That's why it's so important to think before we act. Use the rings of responsibility as your guide. Always be responsible to yourself, to your community, and to your world.
Okay, so that's one thing we include in the self-regulated learning. So what is responsibility? It's the obligation of an individual to perform the duty or task assigned to him. Responsibility is carried out not only in the front of our superiors, in the case of the students, not only in front of their teachers or in front of their parents, for the teachers, not only in front of their supervisors, but even behind those people who are superior to them, they are able to carry out the tasks which are given or which are assigned. Like for example, in the classroom, we group our students to help them develop their collaborative learning techniques, at the same time to help them develop their interpersonal skills as they socialize with their classmates. And we also teach them to be responsible in that sense, right? We delegate tasks. We assign the leader. The leader will try to figure out who among from his classmates would be able to perform a certain role. right? And then later on, they are expected to deliver and present that in the class. Some of the teachers could receive complaints from the group leaders or even from the members, telling that one of our classmates did not contribute in the outcome of this activity, or others could be even complaining about their leaders. They might be saying, our leader did not guide us and did not participate all throughout the preparation for our presentation. Take a look at that. It's an innate thing for a certain person to develop responsibility towards himself or herself. Even as attending to class on time is a responsibility that other students do not think about. Others do not even have a sense of urgency, how quick you have to carry out your task, how should you comply before the set deadline. Others just procrastinate, right? And what is the assurance that when you assign a task, the students will comply right away? Di po ba? How are we assured that the students will comply? Is it because you know that they fear you? Because that they respect you, or what? It's important that the students are complying because they know the importance of being responsible. Okay? And teaching how to be responsible could also be seen in the acts that we carry out. Giving responses to our students, checking their papers, giving feedbacks on the activities that they carry out, they are all essential things that everybody should develop. So a duty or task which is assigned to a subordinate on the basis of his position in the organization. Another thing, responsibility as it pertains to learning. Learning responsibility as a self-regulating skill means that the student accepts to study hard and learn as much as he can and be accountable for his or her own actions. The lectures that we conduct, the learning materials that we give to them are not assurances that they will be on top of the class. And it's not an assurance that they will read and study that. So being a responsible student would allow these students to feel the importance of having that copy not just stored in their gadget or not just being kept in their envelopes, but it is something that they have to read and something that they have to give importance. That's being responsible in that sense. So a responsible person doesn't make excuses, controls their emotions, is organized, consistent, punctual, avoids complaining, know that trust needs to be earned, is self-disciplined, is not afraid to admit their mistakes, and at the same time, they cancel plans ahead of time and only if it's needed. They wouldn't say yes, then later cancel, but there will be a very important reason if they will be doing such. So, indicators of learning. Here we have memory strategy. So how do we carry this out? This refers to any broad set of techniques that are designed to help and remember. So here are some of the techniques that we could utilize for ourselves and for our students as well. So our memory would be better. The link method. In link method, we try to connect some terms with other terms or words with other words or even people with a certain thing so that our memory of them will be easier. Okay? So, for example, we link white with purity. We link red with bravery, right? If we are retaining to certain colors. And then here, the mnemonic devices. Remember, whenever we memorize certain terms, we try to make acronyms For those teaching music, we say that we tell the students all the notes that are in the lines of the staff are E, G, B, D, F. Every good boy does fine, right? And then we have the PEG system. It's a mnemonics strategy wherein we used to remember list whereby each item is associated in imagination with a number word pair. Okay, like for example, 1 is a bun, 2 is a shoe. Remember, 1 and bun sounds similar. 2 and shoe are also close when you hear it, so it is easily remembered. And then a story journey method, right? So we tend to create a story so that people or even students could easily remember them. We even give names to certain characters, and then here recalling what has been being said, what has been being delivered, what has been carried out, step by step, what is step 1, what is step 2, and these techniques could be easy for us so that our students or even ourselves could enhance our memory as well. And then we also have here goal setting. The goal setting is expected to be SMART, which pertains to specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and most importantly, time-bound. Specific is set real numbers with real deadlines. Do not just simply say, I want more visitors. Imagine you are having an event in school and the venue could only hold 50 persons. So when you say, I want more visitors, you have to remember that the place is only conducive for 50 persons. So if you already have 40 persons in the list, if you will be saying, I want more visitors, then you have to be specific that you will be needing just 10, right? Measurable. Make sure your goal is trackable. Okay? Of course, you have to set indicators on how are you going to measure it. For example, so far, for how do you say that the goal is being achieved? You could say 50% of the activity is carried out during the mid-year and you are targeting to achieve it by 100% by the end of this year. Right? How do you measure the 50%? The 50% could be measured because of the indicators that you have set. Okay? And attainable, work towards a goal that is challenging but possible. Don't try to take over the world in one night, right? Same thing when we give homeworks or activities to our students. That is why when you set tasks, you also have to try it, not just saying, I was able to finish it within 30 minutes. Of course, you are the teacher. You are expected to finish that quickly. Especially you have to master what you are teaching and the test that you are giving them. You have to be well versed about that, right? So approximating that it's your students who's going to answer that. Then do you think it's possible that they will just finish that for 15 minutes for certain kind of activities? Then you have to gauge that as well. Then realistic, be honest with yourself. You know what you and your team are capable of. So we know what's realistic for you, for our students. Don't forget, do not include here, forget any hurdles you may have to overcome. Because, of course, speaking reality-wise, you have to be open with every possibilities or every challenges that you will encounter along the way. Because we are just speaking about what is real, right? And then here, for example, you want to implement such kind of activity that would include a certain budget, right? You have also to consider, is the institution going to fund this kind of activity? Would you be able to be supported in any means by the administration or by the students? Would that be okay? and it should be time-bound. That's why in our syllabus, particularly the outcomes-based syllabus, we include there what week are we going to discuss this topic. And for others, they even include how many hours should be utilized to deliver this kind of topics, right? Give yourself a deadline. You set deadlines because that's a real indicator of having a measurable success. Do not forget that you have to keep pushing towards a goal you might hit someday. We don't use the term someday here. We have to be specific. Like, for example, you will tell the students, you have to graduate. How many years, right? Assuming that the course is for 4 years, you're expected to graduate in 2008 if you started in 2004, right? You do not just simply say, I'll graduate someday. You won't take the whole of your life studying for college, right? So, self-evaluation. We have different evaluation tools. Others could be self-made, depending on the need and depending on what are we going to evaluate. Like, for example, here, we have an employee self-evaluation form. Write the name, or we could also have here the student's evaluation form. And we could be creative in crafting how these forms will look like, especially if we are involving kids. Then we could include some pictures because, as we all know, students enjoy pictures. It could even be color coded, especially if it will be done online. Then utilize some designs that they would love to, because the self-evaluation would cover about the strengths, the weaknesses, the threats, and the opportunities. That's why we also have a SWOT analysis. So, seeking assistance. Do not be afraid to ask help or to seek help from a mentor. That's why we also have to make use of mentorship program, because it could enhance skills development as you hear advice or guidance from someone who could be really a good consultant or a good person to approach with when you are doing certain things in line with your tasks. It's not only for the students, but it could also be for us, educators. Environmental restructuring here, it pertains to how our physical environment may be rearranged to avoid distractions and enhance learning. So take a look at these two photos. On this side, the bed has the papers or the reading materials. And on the other side, there is a study table wherein all the things for working or studying are included. So which do you think would be more conducive for learning here or for focusing? Of course, we would be saying the one with the study table would be very capable of allowing a person to focus on and concentrate, because here, when you are study or read towards your bed, as we all know, the bed is utilized for resting and sleeping. So our mind is programmed that when you go to bed, you will sleep or you will rest, and your attention, your focus will not be that much. Even though you say, ay, sanay ako dito, mas gusto ko nga sa kama mas nakakapag-concentrate ako. But pertaining to your posture, pertaining to the environment and the distractions, you could gain more focus when you are on your desk, when you are working on your desk. Okay? And then when you need to rest for some time, then you go to bed, relax for a while. Next. So, a responsible student in school regularly studies, attends in class prepared. They are not just there to have their attendance be taken, but physically, emotionally, and mentally, they are present and they are focused on the task that they are doing. Be it a simple discussion in the class, they would concentrate on listening. Their mind is with the lesson. Their mind is with what the teacher is saying. They are completely focused. And most importantly, they take down notes because not everything that is being said will be remembered. Even after the session, you might just remember self-regulated learning with the many words that have been mentioned. So taking down notes would allow you to remember things more, and it will enhance memory retention because you have listed important things or highlights of what has been being discussed. You might not be missing details as well. And then here, avoids procrastinating. Oh, uso pa naman po sa Pinoy na bukas, bukas, mamaya na, di po ba? Like for example, we give a deadline of 1 week for a homework. O pansinin po ninyo, ang mga estudyante, they would always ask, when is the deadline, ma'am, sir? Di po ba? Why? Because they will think, if it's 1 week, ay pwede pa yan sa Monday, Sunday pa lang naman ngayon eh. Ay pwede pa yan sa Wednesday, madali lang naman yan. Until, anong oras po ba ng Monday ipapasa? Right? 5 p.m. I could do the 3 o'clock. Remember, when you procrastinate, you could miss out very important details because you are already rushing. Your goal is just to finish so that you could pass. Unlike if you started that early, you could recheck, you could review, and you could see if there are still things that you need to improve working on with, right? Another indicator of a responsible student is wisely manages time and maintains a healthy lifestyle. They know what they have to do to prioritize their growth, okay? They know when would they be going out with friends, or is it really essential to do it, right? Is it essential to have fun? How would I do it? Who will I be with? What am I going to do? But if you're prioritizing your studies, bulk of your time will be spent there. And then, takes responsibility for his words and actions. We are responsible and accountable with all the tasks that are assigned of us. So, here, wisely manages finances. You could hear for some of the students, they are very happy kasi classes have been in face-to-face, right? Lalo po sa aming mga high school and some of the college students, whenever they are being asked, they would say, mas gusto po namin na face-to-face kasi may baon na. Like before, nung online, di kami binibigyan ng baon. Right, siguro. With the finances that they have, they also know how they are going to spend their money. Where are they going to spend their money and how are they going to spend? They know the value of saving. And then, a responsible student chooses a fulfilling and practical career. Of course, you do not just choose a career because your parents have told you to do it. You choose a career because that is your interest. That is where you think you are good at. That is the thing you think you are excelling. And that's how you see yourself, how you want to see yourself. And of course, we have to think that every task, every work, or every career is challenging. It's just our mindset. If we love what we are doing, no matter what challenges we are facing, it will be easy for us to overcome these challenges, right? And when we love what we are doing, of course, we are always interested, even we are having a hard time. You'll just know that you'll figure out ways on how are you going to move forward and solve a certain problem. But because you love that, you will stick to that. And then here, chooses people that guides them in good path. Of course, you also plan for your future. You also think about what are you supposed to be in the future. We have to be with the right people because these people will lead you to a good path. But of course, we all know If you choose people who could be pulling you downwards, who could be leading you into paths which are not good, then your future will be at stake. That's why parents, teachers should also be critical with who the students or who the children are mingling with. Kaya nga ang mga parents, lalong-lalo sila, they should have the time to ask, sino mga friends mo? Kamusta yung mga friends mo? Because from there, you could gauge, sino ba yung mga nakakasama ng aking mga anak? And as we all know, if you always spend time with people like that, attitudes are being influenced by people you encounter or by people you spend most of your time with. So here, let's see the value of organizing.
This girl's science project is due today. But she can't find it in her messy locker.
That's an F for you.
Paul forgot he had practice today.
You're late. 500 push-ups.
Laura left her homework to the last minute.
I hope that everybody studied hard for their test today.
And Ethan didn't write down the day of his test.
Wow, that was terrifying.
I know. Middle school can seem kind of scary anyway, and being disorganized just makes it worse.
When I first started here, I didn't know what to do. Everything was so different from elementary school.
Lots of different subjects to keep track of, a bunch of teachers to get to know, different rooms for each class. Everything about middle school was so confusing. I felt the same way, but as soon as I started to get organized, things fell right into place. All it takes is a few simple strategies to stay on top of everything.
Yeah, we all learned from our mistakes.
And there were lots of them.
And now we've got our act together.
Okay, so we see how important it is to be organized, and that's something that we have to inculcate with ourselves and with our students. How do we show this? Just the simple appearance of your working station in your office or your teacher's table. Ayan po. And whenever you enter the classroom, do you remind the students or do you notice kung hiwa-hiwalay or hindi maganda yung pagkakaayos ng kanilang mga upuan, yung alignment, pati yung mga basurang nakakalat if meron? So that's something. Those are simple gestures of being organized. Also, whenever you conduct your lessons, is it in order or you just put into discussion whatever comes in your mind? Dapat ay organize po tayo based on the syllabus that you have, based on the things that you are also having. Di po ba? So, organize means arranging into a structured whole, putting into order, coordinating the activities efficiently, making arrangements or preparations for an event or activity. When you are organized, it will save you time. For example, you saved a file in your computer. Ngayon, kinalat mo lang dyan sa desktop mo yung file. Now, you could not locate it. It's already taking you an hour to retrieve it. Right? You can't remember the file name. You can't remember where you have saved it. O kaya naman, if it's not a soft file, a printed copy, hindi mo alam kung saan mo naisuksok. Then, if you keep on looking and looking for it, it could consume a lot of time na pwede mo sanang magawa yung ibang mga bagay kung nakita mo na yung document na yun. That's why it will help you a lot if you are organized. And organizing as a self-regulated skill means that the student is able to plan things carefully and keep things tidy. He or she attends to classes on time and keeps track of the task he or she has to carry out. You don't miss things, even though with all of the subjects that you have to attend for a certain day, and even all of that assignments or activities, everything will be given priority. Everything will be given attention. Wala kang mamimiss out. Lahat magagawa mo. Lahat may isasubmit mo. Because you know how to put things in order. You know how to manage things well. Same thing for us teachers. Preparing lesson plans, class records, and any repertorial documents that you have to carry out. If you are organized, you know when are the submissions and when are the deadlines, you will be easily able to carry them out, deliver them, and submit them even before the deadline. It would be allowing you to develop time management techniques that even though you have a lot of time to be given for work, you do not forget that you are also portraying a different role when you go outside the school or whatever institution you are connected with. You could still remember, oh, I am a mother, I am a child, I'm a parent, or whatever role, I am a friend, whatever role you are portraying with regards to your family members or any other individuals. And you also have to remember to give time for yourself. Why? Of course, everybody needs pampering. Everybody needs relaxation. And everybody needs to be taken care of so that you could be more enthusiastic in doing the things that you need to fix. Kagaya po ngayon, we have to be motivated in the week ahead. Diba minsan problema natin ay Lunes na naman, mahaba-habang linggo na naman. Lalo na kung walang holiday. Syempre, 5 araw yung bubunuin mo. For those who still have classes on Saturdays, so 6 na araw yung bubunuin mo. Right? At ang bilis lang naman ng weekend. So here, indicators of an organized person, they ensure that they remember things as they write them down. They establish routines and updates their to-do list. Ayan po, may mga checklist, naka-update kung ano na yung mga nagawa nila at hindi pa nila nagagawa. And they do not forget that these are essential things that they have to carry out. And they know when to ask for help. Di po ba? Ayan. It also includes decluttering as part of their routine. So as you could see here, what are the things to keep and what are the things to throw away? Minsan, when we declutter, you will notice that there are a lot of things we are keeping and we are holding and they need to be discarded already, right? Always remember this. An organized environment also allows for an organized mind. Same thing. There are many thoughts concerning you. You have to declutter those. Because if you will bombard yourselves with many thoughts, how will you focus on doing important tasks if you are very much preoccupied with many things? Di po ba? Take it one at a time. Unti-untiin po natin. Isa-isahin. Alisin muna. If you will be so much preoccupied with a certain thing, I'm telling you, your focus and your concentration will not be on what is in front of you and what is being to be carried out at this moment because your mind is being filled with thoughts of other things that are worrying you. Okay? And then here, an organized person is optimistic and is goal-oriented. We go back again to setting of the goals. These goals will allow you to keep track on where you are right now. Right? Yung goal ko, makaipon ako ng 1 million. Gaano katagal mo gustong ipunin yon? Right? Yan you said, I want to have that for 3 years. Then check. Kung nasa pangalawang taon ka na, ibig sabihin kalagitnaan, kailangan almost 50% na yung naiipon mo. Then you have to think, am I hitting this goal? What else should I be doing? What would be the other sources of the finances which I'm expecting to gain right? And of course, you're optimistic. You might be thinking, this is difficult, but even though it's difficult, I know I'll find a way. Diba? Dapat ganun yung ating mindset, your ating thinking. And if you think, ay, hindi talaga posible, hindi talaga pwede, then think of another strategy for it. Same thing for our students. If they could not solve it using this way, then there could be another perspective that they could try. Di po ba? We do not just limit ourselves with a fixed solution, because sometimes things could be solved in another perspective or in another way, right? Then, acknowledges the need to distress. Pero hindi naman laging natin sinasabing, ay, magdi-distress ako every day. Of course, there are days that you really have to work hard and push through with the things that you are doing, right? You just give certain moments wherein we need to distress, or wherein we need to do certain reflections on ourselves and activities that would make us feel more energetic again. Of course, you have to do things that you feel is adding value to your life, and do things that make you feel alive as well. So the importance of this, if you are responsible, you'll be able to build and establish a good relationship with others. Example, sabi natin, let's meet at 7 o'clock in the morning. 7 o'clock, nandun ka na sa venue ng pagkikitaan ninyo. Yung kausap mo, 7:15, ni texted, asan ka na? And the person would say, on the way na. Pero ang totoo, di ba, on the way, nasa kama pa yan, patayo pa lang. Sasabihin, ang traffic, sobrang traffic. Right? Ang lapit-lapit lang ng panggagalingan niya. So take a look, how will others believe and trust you? And how would you have a good relationship with other people if you could not keep your word? Keeping your word is also a form of responsibility. And at the same time, you'll be able to show compassion towards others. As you be empathizing with people, you put yourself on their shoes for them to be understood more. Because when we put ourselves in their situation, we put on their hats, we tend to try to feel how they are feeling. And we will understand it when we are in that situations. And of course, you never have to worry about placing blame on others because you take responsibility and accountability. Yung iba, ay, ito kasi siya yun eh. We point out, remember when you're pointing out, the rest of your fingers is pointing towards you. Right? Do not blame. Accept that there are also things that you have to be responsible and accountable for. And instead of wasting time blaming, then why not think of what could be a possible way to solving things or making things better? It will help you more. And then you'll never have to worry about becoming a complainer. Remember, do not complain and complain. But you have to give your contribution first. Ambag muna. Diba? Ano ba yung maaambag mo? The problem with people is that others would speak a lot. However, they haven't given anything yet. At kapag trabaho na, diba? Kapag trabaho na, wala na sila, hindi na maaasahan. Ganon din sa mga estudyante natin. We should make them always remember that they have to be responsible with many things, right? So they won't be missing out on doing things or in doing situations again and again. They have to always recall that it is essential that they have to do their part as well. So you can recognize when circumstances stretch beyond your control. You know your limits, and you know what are the realistic ways of having things. Okay? So alam mo kung ano lang yung kaya mo, ano lang kung ano yung pwede, ano lang yung maibibigay, ano lang yung possible. Balik tayo dun sa steps kanina, di po ba? You could see that it is very important that you identify what could be possible here. That's why you make smart plans. Okay? So next, you can discover the best ways to multitask or stretch. Remember, multitasking could be helpful. However, it is still best that you do things one time and you focus on one thing first before you move with the others. Kasi kahit nasabihin mong, ay kaya ko yan pagsabay-sabayin, you could be missing out essential things. Bakit? Kasi napunta yung attention mo doon sa ibang bagay. Napunta yung attention mo sa ibang part ng ginagawa mo at nawala yung focus mo dito sa isa. Okay? At the same time, you'll be able to become a leader that others can count on consistently. Isn't it there are people who are always assigned to be the leader? And even for our students, we could see that whenever you would ask them, o sino leader ng group na ito, they would be pointing out on someone. Kasi they see the potential in that person and that person is very responsible as well. So, importance of being organized, we increase productivity, we reduce our stress levels kasi kahit yung mga simpleng bagay, nakaka-stress yan. Halimbawa, malilate ka na sa klase mo, malilate ka na sa meeting, o hindi mo makita yung file na ito, hindi mo makita saan mo nailagay yung importanteng gamit mo, right? Makes you consistently on time as well and allows you to meet deadlines. So, another thing, in self-regulated learning abilities, we include here goal setting, self-monitoring, self-instruction, as well as self-reinforcement. How do we reinforce ourselves? After you do your evaluation and analysis of yourself, how do we reinforce? As we identify our strengths, we keep or we maintain that strength or that good point, or we try to improve them. And then, with regards to our weaknesses, as much as possible, we try to convert them into strengths slowly. It doesn't happen overnight. Of course, when there is an improvement, you have to make things work at the same time. Comes with a certain process. Kasi i-accept mo pa yan eh. Ay, mahina ako dito. Not everyone could accept that they are weak at a certain thing. Right? Others could be thinking na, I do not have anything to improve on. If that is your mindset, how are you going to learn? Because we only learn when we identify that there is something that we have to improve. And then, opportunities. As the opportunities we have identified is being inculcated in our minds, what's going to happen is we try to venture into that opportunities so that it could develop into strengths again, and we consider that as a venue for reinforcing and strengthening ourselves. Okay? And for the threats, of course, we set realistic expectations. And when it's realistic, we identify that it's not all the time everything will be good. It's not all the time things will happen according to how we planned it. Okay, so here are 7 ways to teach children self-regulation. First is we help children control impulses to achieve the higher goal. Take a look. We also include control of emotions. We also include regulation of our emotions, our motivations, and most importantly, our impulses here. Another, use naturally occurring situations to teach self-regulation strategies. We don't just simply teach, but the situations that are happening in their lives are mere examples as to how they will learn. Because how will you learn things if you will not be encountering it? Experience is one of the best teachers to allow the students to develop self-regulating techniques. Deadlines. Matututunan nilang, ay dapat ginagawa ko pala to bago yung deadline para hindi ako nagkakaram, para hindi ako nagpo-procrastinate. Sobrang dami ng trabaho. You have to know how to manage it accordingly. We say, okay, manage your time. But how are you going to do that? Then you have to develop the strategy among yourselves in order to do things. Right? Then acknowledge the challenge of regulation. Because regulating ourselves is challenging. At some points, they are not easy. Di po ba? At some points, we are being pulled back to how we do things before. We are pulled back to our old habits. For example, being complacent, procrastinating, coming to school late, di po ba? But if you acknowledge the challenge of it, okay, 1 week hindi ako magpapalate. Di ba? Pero may mga instances na hirap ka talagang bumangon ng maaga. And that's a challenge. Now, your self-regulation should come in there. How will I motivate myself more? I should exert more effort. And have children make a choice and plan. The choices that we do, the decisions that we make, even if we allow the students or the kids to make this, allows them to be decisive in life later on. Because there are instances if the teacher or if the parents are always the one allowing or making the students just follow, sometimes it will be hard for them to make decisions when they grow older. Kasi sabi ni mama ganito eh, teka tatanungin ko muna yung tatay ko. Tatanungin ko muna yung teacher ko. What if they face a situation wherein wala yung nanay, wala yung tatay, wala yung teacher, and the student could not make a move because the student was used to such kind of thing. But always remember, it depends on the case, it depends on the situation, okay? Play games that focus on self-regulation skills, okay? So, like what we had before, examples, para ma-enhance yung memory, ito yung mga pwede nating gawin. Para ma-enhance yung patience, anong activity yung gagawin mo? Para ma-enhance yung pagpasa ng submissions ng mga activities pwede win. And remember that self-regulation skills develop over a lifetime. It doesn't develop when you're already working. It doesn't when you are already in college. It slowly develops and it happens as you go along with your life. Habang bata, natin yung mga bata. Because the foundation of the individual, even at 7 years of age, kapag yan na yung nabuo or na-fix sa kanya, it would not be as easy to modify that when the person is already used with such kind of behavior. Kaya we bend the tree while young. Di po ba? Hindi na madaling ibaling sa isang side ang puno kapag sobrang tigas na ng kanyang katawan. Ganun din po sa tao. We tend to teach children even at their young age so that they will slowly be used with such kind of good traits, and will they develop these good traits as they mature and as they age. Hindi po tinuturuan pag matanda na. Minsan ang matatanda, mas mahirap na yung bigyan ng mga kailangan nilang matutunan kasi meron nang naka-fix sa kanila. Meron nang naka-plan or meron ng nakaprogram ng mahigpit na kapit sa kanila. Kasi yun ay nakasanayan nila even before. But I'm not saying na hindi na pwedeng mabago yun. It could still be improved. However, it may take some time and it may take some practice. And unang-una, it could be happening as the person accepts and acknowledges that this is something that I have to identify and I have to improve. And realize it is just as important to let go of control. Okay? So, these are the things about self-regulation, and I do hope that within ourselves as educators, we will be able to apply it in our lives so that as we face our students, we will naturally possess these certain characteristics that they might be learning about, and the students will be learning not just with the lectures that we deliver, but they will be learning because of the examples that they see in the behaviors that we are doing and how we manifest ourselves towards them. And with that, I would like to close this with a quote from Robert Tolbert. You can't say that you are interested in teaching students how to learn and then spoon feed them everything. So here we could see the importance of self-regulated learning. So thank you very much. I hope I was able to impart knowledge or learnings that would be beneficial to individuals. So maraming salamat po and good evening to all of you.
That was a deeper discussion on the indicators of self-regulated learning by Director Jonah Carlobien. Let's give her a virtual round of applause. So I hope that we grasped everything about the indicators. It's very explicit, it's very clear.